The Eagle's Dream cocktail. Almost like drinking a cloud in a glass. Welcome to the Cocktail Spirit from Small Screen Network. I'm your host, Robert Hess. We all like drinks that make us feel like we're flying through the air. This one's called the Eagle's Dream. We're going to start off with 1 egg white. Egg whites add an interesting texture to drinks, as well as a nice, beautiful froth on top. They're a little bit more difficult to prepare because of that, because you got to shake them a little bit harder. But there's a trick to doing it so you get this nice, beautiful froth without spending too much time like you normally would with the Ramos Gin Fizz. Now to this, we're going to add 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Followed by a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. Followed by 1.5 ounces of gin. Followed by a 1/2 ounce of violet liqueur. We can assume the name of this drink comes from the fact that the violet liqueur is going to add a nice blue sky, beautiful tint to the drink. Now what we do is we're going to shake it, but rather than shaking with ice, first I'm going to do what's called a dry shake. I took a spring out of a Hawthorne strainer and just kind of made it look kind of fancy. I'm going to stick it in here because what we want to do is add some frothy emulsion to the drink. And egg whites don't emulsify quite as well when they're cold, and so the ice is going to prevent them from emulsifying, where while they're still mildly room temperature warm, they're going to emulsify far better. One problem you're going to notice is the shaker is going to have a tendency to try to break apart, because rather than drawing a vacuum like it's going to do when it's cold, it's actually expanding slightly, and so you got to be a lot more careful about how you shake it. Now once we think we've got it shaken enough to get a nice frothy texture to it, we carefully remove the spring and then add our ice. We're still going to get some froth with the ice. It's going to increase it a little bit more, but not quite as much as it would with the dry shake. Interesting side point on the dry shake is something that was actually created by Chad Solomon from the Pegu Club. He actually broke his back, and he felt that shaking it so hard and long with the big ice that they use at the Pegu Club was really hurting his back quite a bit. So he created the dry shake basically to have something that wasn't quite as heavy as he was shaking with that big heavy ice into it. And it works really well. Another aspect I'm going to use, rather than a really nice Hawthorne strainer like this, I'm going to use a cheaper one like this, which has wider openings. It's not going to strain the ice quite so much. I didn't shake it so hard as to get ice chunks, but it's going to let more of the froth come through. You can see that nice, thick foam that's coming out of the glass. And I suppose that's kind of the cloud cover over the blue sky. And then we have the Eagle's Dream cocktail. One of the things that the egg white adds to it is kind of a balance, frothy texture without the flavor. And so rather than being a heady drink with the gin and the lemon juice and the violet being kind of like was in the violet fizz, a fairly similar drink, the egg white is expanding it out more, so it's more gentle, more relaxed. You taste it on your mouth, you feel it on your mouth, and even the bubbles coming up are slightly popping and you can smell it a bit more. One thing to pay attention to about egg whites is that after a while they're going to smell a little bit like wet dog, and so some drinks will actually have bitters added to it as well. You could experiment by adding maybe orange bitters, might be an interesting addition, or since we're using lemon juice, maybe lemon bitters. Very delightful, relaxed, refreshing drink. The Eagle's Dream.